Well, we found out that I'm really proud of one of the things that we've done, and that is we've just really totally revamped the FAFSA program, which is the applications that students fill out, for student aid as they're going to college. But as like many things in the government, we found that there was a lot of fraud going on, that there were bots that were applying for these loans. There were ghost students. There were dead people who were getting these loans, etc.
Good afternoon, beautiful people. So a few months ago, the federal government discovered that billions of your tax dollars have been handed out to students who don't even exist. I'm talking fake identities, AI-generated applications, stolen social security numbers, online bots enrolling in college classes, collecting financial aid checks, and then disappearing into thin air. And the Trump administration said enough is enough. According to the Department of Education, they've already blocked over $1 billion in fraudulent student aid claims tied to what they are calling ghost students. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Nellie Miranda.
A new school year, new students, and a scramble to sign up.
Yeah, classes do fill up pretty quick.
At Century College in White Bear Lake, Jocelyn Olander had no idea some students competing with her for spots might not really exist. Have you ever heard of a ghost student?
I have not, no.
Ghost students, stolen identities used to enroll online and steal taxpayer dollars in the form of financial aid.
Now, if you're sitting there wondering, wait, how is this even possible? Let me break this down in simple terms. So these scammers create fake student accounts using stolen identities or completely fabricated identities. Some of these applications are reportedly being generated by AI bots, filling out forms in seconds. The fake students enroll in online classes, apply for FAFSA aid, collect Pell Grants or loans, and then vanish before ever attending classes. And because so many community colleges moved heavily online during the pandemic, fraudsters found the perfect loophole. No face-to-face interaction, minimal verification, open enrollment systems, and fast-tracked aid processing. It became a goldmine for scammers.
Jakub Varva, the threat operations analyst for Avast, says the scam is growing with the help of AI and that anyone's identity could be targeted. And it often starts with fake students.
So what they do is they create essentially ghost students who enroll in these online classes. And through the use of AI, they're actually able to kind of pretend to be a student, and they stay just long enough to trigger the financial aid disbursements. Once those are triggered, then they disappear. While
scammers still have to pass identity checks to access financial aid, Varva says that's where AI-generated deepfakes come in, using just a photo or a few seconds of audio.
Cyber criminals are able to emulate real voices really well. And for example, they've contacted students over the phone, pretending to be a federal aid officer, student aid officer, or someone from the college, and then start requesting personal details, personal information, such as social security numbers, even their login details to the various portals.
In response to the fraud, the U.S. Department of Education launched new screening.
Imagine being an actual student trying to register for classes, trying to improve your life, trying to get an education, and then the entire classrooms are being filled up by bots and fake identities. One California college reportedly had a 50% online class fill up almost instantly with over 100 students waitlisted. And then only 6 students turned out to be real. That's unbelievable. Education Secretary Linda McMahon has been publicly hammering Democrat governors and state officials over this issue, especially Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. McMahon accused Minnesota of allowing massive failures in oversight after investigators reportedly found nearly 1,834 ghost students tied to over $12.5 million in fraudulent grants and loans. So this makes you wonder, how many of these fraud schemes were quietly growing while politicians were busy telling every taxpayer that everything was under control?
We have this for our viewers. Here's what you wrote to the governor. You said the U.S. Department of Education became aware that fraudulent college applicants, especially concentrated in Minnesota, were gaming the federal post-secondary education system to collect money that was intended for young Americans to help them afford college. In Minnesota, 1,834 ghost students were found to have received $12.5 million in taxpayer-funded grants and loans. Given your dereliction of the office entrusted to you by Minnesotans, I implore you to resign and make way for more capable leadership, end quote. Can you walk me through what you've uncovered there with this administration, looking at what happened with this alleged fraud in Minnesota? And then have you had any response from the governor's office, from Governor Walz himself?
Well, to my knowledge at this point, we have not received any response. And what we have done in looking through the entire program of the federal student loan program, and we had found, and there was a large concentration of it in Minnesota, but totally across the country, we have now saved taxpayers about $1 billion.
So the Department of Education says they've implemented stronger real-time identity verification systems and are improving data sharing with the Social Security Administration to catch fake identities earlier in the process. So I guess the real question is, if this fraud was preventable with stronger verification systems, why were those systems not already in place before billions of dollars went out the door? That's what taxpayers want to know. Why are we never ahead of the fraud? Our government is always reacting to fraud, and I'm just praying that one day they are preventing fraud. But moving on to what I deem a positive, workforce Pell Grants. It is specifically designed for trade schools, certifications, and short-term job training programs.
Well, Maria, I'm really pleased to be talking about the Workforce Pell Program that goes into effect today, and it's part of the Working Families Tax Cuts Act. It was, part of President Trump's plan. We have to fill our workforce shortage. And so this is a new program from 8 to 15 weeks. You can go in and get certifications and go ahead and get into the workforce and get a job. And it's just fantastic that this is going to be able to happen. It's going to be a cheaper way to get certifications. You can stack these credentials, in electrical work, HVAC, carpentry, a lot of the skills and workforce that we need, because we are desperately in need of this workforce development.
Then the Democrats said, not so fast. So in this article, it reads, the Democratic attorneys general in more than 20 states and Washington, D.C. on Tuesday filed suit against the Education Department over new limits set to go into effect for graduate student loan borrowers. The lawsuit filed in U.S. District Court in Maryland states that the new limits will strain the healthcare workforce by discouraging students from pursuing degrees in the medical field. Starting on July 1st, graduate students can borrow up to $20,500 in federal loans annually and $100,000 in aggregate under the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Professional students, meanwhile, will be able to borrow up to $50,000 annually and $200,000 in aggregate under the new law. The lawsuit filed by 24 Democratic attorneys general says that the borrowing caps will, quote unquote, drive up by reducing the supply of health professionals and entice graduate students to take out more expensive private loans. The article goes on to say that the lawsuit states that the Education Department's definition of a professional degree will have adverse consequences for students. Honestly, we've never really tried this approach before, so why not see if it works? There's already so much fraud and waste in the education system, and I really don't understand the outrage over trying to put limits on taxpayer dollars. Most of us know someone who signed up for school, collected all kinds of grant money or aid, and then never actually finished the program. That doesn't mean that people shouldn't get help, but there absolutely should be caps, accountability, and some kind of oversight to make sure that money is actually leading to real education and real jobs. So what are your thoughts? Do you think the federal government should cap how much students can borrow for college? And should taxpayers continue backing unlimited student loans even as tuition prices keep rising? Let me know in the comments, and if you got any value from today's video, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to support the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.